I'm curious to know about the value against deceased celebrities. When did that start? And do you see any interesting results based on certain group preferences?
Yeah, actually, I would say back in the late 90s and the early part of this decade, a lot of our West Coast clients were in the licensing and talent agent business. And they started asking us questions about what do you think the appeal is of celebrity X, Y, and Z who are no longer living. We're thinking of using their image and for some advertising campaigns, blah, blah, blah. So it was a natural fit for us to extend our current and existing personality measurements into that area. And that's kind of how it got started with some companies that were actually managing the estates of deceased celebrities and looking for ways to market and improve the revenue flow for the families involved. And one thing led to another, and we created this service that originally was called Performers of the Past, Q. And then we decided to shorten that mouthful, tongue in cheek. We now call it Dead Q. And it's become a very profitable service for us, and is not only servicing those original client categories of agents and estate managers, but also attorneys, uh, a number of cable networks, History Channel, AMC, Turner Classic Movies, all have an interest, obviously, in wanting to know how the current appeal is for deceased personalities who star in pretty much their whole on-air movie packages. So it's evolved into a very interesting and fun service for us. So again, it's updated every 2 years. We do it on a biannual basis, primarily to allow for time to pass so that we can increase the amount of celebrities we're measuring. And a lot of celebrities get tracked and trended from study to study. So a very key and interesting point as a last area of interest that I'll cover in this service is the ability that we have to follow the appeal of a celebrity while they were alive and after they passed away. A great case in point of recently would be Michael Jackson, of how his appeal with consumers tracked up until his death and where it's gone after. And it's amazing to see how some celebrities become much more popular, unfortunately, when they pass away in death, and their relatives benefit from it tremendously. You know, Elvis is probably the best example. You know, the Graceland phenomenon and still high interest in him as a talent. If you go to YouTube, for example, his videos from the 60s and 70s are all over the place. So we get a lot of interest from that study, and it's really become a key point of identity for us since no one else is doing it.
So, Michael Jackson in particular, what happened pre and post?
Yeah, I mean, it is a good, interesting example of how a celebrity's appeal can change after they pass away. He was pretty much on a downward trend with all the negative publicity he was getting for his lifestyle and whatever legal issues he was facing, his drug addiction, etc., etc. Um, he became a far less marketable and appealing talent for consumers over the years. And that was kind of holding steady up until his death. Once he passed away, and all the sympathy that was shown for him as a talent and the inroads he made in the music industry and the way he affected and changed so many things, and the way performers not only in the type of music, but in the way they presented themselves in concerts. And he was a real trendsetter from that respect, which kind of got lost while he was alive. Once he passed away, all of that came back into focus, and the impact he had on the music industry came back into focus. All the negativity about his personal life kind of dropped by the wayside and got focused on the doctors, without mentioning any names, who eventually were convicted of, killing him. But this kind of refocus on the impact you make in history changes the whole perspective of how he's now perceived by consumers. So there was significant growth in his Q score, not only overall, but in very key segments of the marketing community that get targeted for advertising campaigns and promotional purposes. So younger adults, both men and women, teens, it just spilled over into a very uptick for Michael Jackson. And if pursued effectively, I mean, the Jackson family has a never-ending revenue source from the impact he's had. And that was not the case, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, when he was alive. So it's that kind of thing that we try and monitor and help our clients with in terms of choosing and matching the right celebrity with the product or service they're thinking of using them for. So, and that's a whole other service we provide. So we can get into that at some other point.